Right. It was kind of interesting. On Facebook, I post parts of the scripture. And this past week, I posted some of my favorite book from the Ecclesiastes on Facebook. And it turns out someone else also was the same section. It's like we were on the same page. So I thought that was kind of cool. So I'm going to talk about Ecclesiastes, and no one knows who wrote Ecclesiastes. And tradition says it was King Solomon, but son of David could mean anyone in David's royal line. But we will see hints of who this person is later on. The title comes from the Greek word ecclesia, the assembly, that we have right here. The spokesman, Ecclesiastes is the spokesman, sometimes translated as the preacher or teacher, is addressing a gathering. What can we tell about the spokesman from reading this book? He sounds like an old man who's been searched for meaning in many different ways, and now realizing that he won't live forever, and he looks back over his life, and he wants to warn younger people. Don't we all want to do that with our kids? Mm-hmm. We realize I can still remember when I was 20 or 30 years old, and they're 20 and 30 years old now, and you want to warn them not to be like that? Like the author of the book of Job, the spokesman observes that a good life does not necessarily bring a person what he most desires. Like the authors of the book of Proverbs, he repeatedly advises his listeners to fear, and that is to respect. You know, when you're a little kid, and mom says, wait till your dad comes home. You fear your dad, but you respect him, really. To respect and obey Yahweh. But in the end, he says nothing will matter. Absolutely pointless. The spokesman says over and over again, everything is pointless. Pleasure, accomplishments, riches, hard work, honor, even the pursuit of wisdom. People spend their lives on these things and always defer enjoyment until they have achieved their goals. And then they die. And the sun keeps on rising and setting, and the next generation forgets all about them. And yet the book of Ecclesiastes is not just about death and futility. It's also about happiness. Instead of trying to catch the wind by pursuing pointless goals, the spokesman recommends contentment with what we already have. Are you happy with what you have? That's what the happiness is. Being happy with what you have, not what you want. There's nothing better for people to do than to eat, drink, and find satisfaction in their work, he says. In Ecclesiastes 2:24, there's nothing better for a man than that he should eat and drink, and that he should make his soul enjoy good in his labor. This also I saw, that it was from the hand of Elohim. Our possessions are a gift from Yahweh. Don't you realize that? Everything you have, even your life, your kids, your house, everything. Yahweh also gives us the power to enjoy them. Ecclesiastes 5:19. Every man also to whom Elohim has given riches and wealth, and has given him power to eat thereof, and to take his portion, and to rejoice in his labor. This is the gift of Elohim. So the old man says, I recommend the enjoyment of life. People have nothing better to do under the sun than to eat, drink, and enjoy themselves. Ecclesiastes 8:15. Then I commended mirth, because a man has no better thing under the sun than to eat and to drink and to be merry, for that shall abide with him of his labor. the days of his life, which Elohim gives him under the sun. Don't wait too long to do this. You young people should enjoy yourselves while you are young. Believe me. That's why they say the good old days. We remember how good it was because we felt better. We weren't sick or sickly or weak because of our old age anymore. Ecclesiastes 11:9. Rejoice, O young man, in thy youth. Let thy heart cheer thee in the days of thy youth. Walk in the ways of thy heart, and in the sight of thy eyes. But, there's a but here. Know this, that for all these things Elohim will bring thee into judgment. The book closes with a haunting poem that begins, remember your Creator when you were young. And this is the part I posted on Facebook. Well, on Facebook I use a different version where it's pretty much today's language, but it's just certain versions have different types of language. This is a little bit. Remember now thy Creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh when you shall say, I have no pleasure in them. Remember that when you're young, you're healthy, you're strong. You can do anything you want to do as long as it's within Yahweh's laws. Because the day will draw near when your body will wear out and you will get sick. And then you will say, I have no pleasure in them. While the sun or the light or the moon or the stars be not darkened, nor the clouds return after the rain, in the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease, because they are few, and those that look out of the window be darkened. Now, this could also be talking about your body. Did you realize that? In the days when the keeper of the house shall tremble. Old people, did you ever hear shiver my timbers? You become weak. Strong men shall bow themselves. They walk, the old people. The grinders cease because they are few. Your teeth. And those that look out the window will be darkened. Your eyesight, the windows of your soul. The doors shall be shut in the streets when the sound of the grinding is low, and he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low. Your hearing. Also when they shall be afraid of that which is high, and fears shall be in the way, and the almond tree shall flourish, and the grasshopper shall be a burden, and the desire shall fail, because man goes to his long home, and the mourners go about the streets, or ever the silver cord be loosed, or the golden bowl be broken, or the pitcher be broken at the fountain, or the wheel broken at the cistern. Once it's broken, it's done. It's gone. Then shall the dust return to the earth as it was, and the spirit shall return unto Elohim who gave it. Vanity of vanities, says the preacher, all is vanity. Moreover, because the preacher was wise, he still taught the people knowledge. Yes, he gave good heed and sought out and set out in order many proverbs. The preacher sought to find out acceptable words, and that which was written was upright, even words of truth. And where are we going to find words of truth? In Scripture. The words of the wise are as goads, and as nail fasteners by the master of assembly, which are given from one shepherd. And further, by these, my son, be admonished, and making many books. There is no end. Everybody's writing a book. Go to the library, it's just packed full of books. Much study is a weariness of the flesh. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear Elohim and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For Elohim shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing. You go behind closed doors, you talk behind somebody's back, it's going to be exposed. You turn the lights off, it's still going to end up in public knowledge at the end when you will be judged, whether it be good or whether it be evil. Yahweh has given us a beautiful world and only a few years in which to appreciate it. 70, the scripture says. That's only 70 times around the sun. Anything after that is a blessing. Ecclesiastes reminds us to pay attention to the good things we have right now. And thank Yahweh for them. I just want to go over the first chapter of Ecclesiastes just a little bit. So Ecclesiastes 1, verse 1, the words of the preacher, the son of David, king of Jerusalem. Now this one verse identifies the author of David, son of David, not Solomon. The Hebrew word that is translated preacher is a word that means a collector of sentences. It could mean a preacher, a lecturer, a public speaker, or a debater. So the verse could read the words of the debater, the son of David, the king of Jerusalem. There's a hint right there. He was a king of Jerusalem. This word is used 7 times in the Old Testament, all of them in the book of Ecclesiastes. Verse 2, vanity of vanities, says the preacher. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. This verse strikes the key note of the whole book. It's using this expression, vanity of vanities. The author indicates the unity of the book. If you look at the world view that there is no Elohim, then all will be vanity. Life without Yahweh makes no sense. It has no purpose. The word translated vanity is its primary meaning denotes breath or vapor. The word vanity literally means that which vanishes. It's nothing. You go to get it and it vanishes. It's not there. It's emptiness. It occurs 37 times in this book. Verse 3. What advantage does man have in all his work which he does under the sun? If there is no Elohim, if there is no future reward or punishment, if there is no heaven or hell, what difference does it make? He's toiling in vain. It's been said man is perpetually toiling, yet of all his toil there remains no abiding results. The natural world exhibits a spectacle of unceasing activity with no real progress. The sun, the winds, the waters are all in motion, yet they do but run around and nothing comes of it. The phrase under the sun refers to the natural world. In verse 4, a generation goes and a generation comes, but the earth remains forever. What is this life of a man upon the earth compared to the age of the earth? Many people come and go, and the memory of them is soon past. If I were to mention to you the name of Xerxes from 519 to 465 BC, I bet most of this generation would not know that name. Yet he was the ruler of the most known world in his lifetime. It's been said that Xerxes, looking upon his huge army, wept to think that within less than 100 years, not one of those many should be left alive. Mortality is the stage of multiplicity, where man is but a dream of a dream. but the generation of a fancy, but an empty vanity, but the curious picture of nothing, a poor, feeble, unable, dying flash. How then can he here work out unto himself a happiness worth having? Why should he lay up and load himself with thick clay as if his life were riveted upon eternity? We have billionaires. Why are they hanging on to that money? What is it? They want more. They have billions and billions of dollars, and they don't even lift a finger to help their neighbors. Verse 5, also the sun rises and the sun sets and hastens to its place. It rises there again. The things in nature are always in motion, yet they never change. The sun rises, the sun sets, only to rise again, over and over again. This happens and it doesn't end. In verse 6, blowing towards the south, then turning towards the north, the wind continues swirling along in its circular course, and the wind returns. This wind continues to blow. It comes out of the south, heads towards the north, and then turns around and heads back to the south. Then it will be calm, but don't worry, it will blow again. That's what it does. It never stops. In verse 7, all the rivers flow to the sea, and yet the sea is not full. To the place where the rivers flow, they flow again. All the rivers flow into the oceans, yet the oceans does not overflow. It's never full. But the rivers never stop flowing, and they do it day in and day out, never ceasing. Verse 8, all things are wearisome. Man is not able to tell it. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor is the ear filled with hearing. All things wear us out. The eye see. We want to see it. We want to see more. The ear hears, and yet it wants to hear more. It is impossible to calculate how much anxiety and pain and labor and fatigue are necessary in order to carry on the common operations of life. But an endless desire of gain, an endless curiosity to unfitness, a variety of results cause men to labor on. The eye sees much, but wishes to see more. The ear hears of many things, but it's curious to have the actual knowledge of them. So desire and curiosity carry men under the divine providence, though all the labor and pains of life. In verse 9, that which has been is that which will be, and that which has been done is that which will be done. So there is nothing new under the sun. Technology has changed, but has the desire of men changed? That which has been will always be. There is nothing new under the sun. Men's hearts and their corruptions are the same now as in former times. No matter how far back you go, it's the same thing. Their desires, their pursuits, their complaints, it's still the same. This should take us from expecting happiness in the creature and quicken us to seek eternal blessings. How many things and persons in Solomon's day were thought to be very great, yet there's no remembrance of them? In verse 10, is there anything of which one might say, see this, it is new? Already it has existed for ages, which were before us. Fashions change. Technology changes. We think we are modern. So did they. In their day, they thought they were modern. But has the heart of man changed down through the ages? I sit typing on a computer. Those of ages ago sat with quill and ink. And yet we both have the same goal in mind down through the ages: to communicate. Technology in farming has changed, yet it remains the same. The seed must be planted in the soil, whether you use a stick to till the ground or use a 20-row planter. The seed must be planted. In verse 11, there is no remembrance of earlier things, and also of the latter things which will occur. There will be for them no remembrance among those who will come later still. History is often forgotten. Remember the saying, if you don't know your history, you're bound to repeat it? Great civilizations have come and gone, and yet their greatness is a fleeting memory. In verse 12, I, the preacher, have been king over Israel and Jerusalem. There's a hint of who he is now. Having asserted the vanity of all things in the general, he now comes to prove his assertion in those particulars wherein men commonly seek and with the greatest probability expect to find true happiness. He begins with secular wisdom, the natural, and to show how competent a judge he was of this matter, he lays down this character, that he was the preacher, which implies imminent knowledge. And a king, who better to have the riches available to him, all the knowledge of books, all the knowledgeable men at his beck and call. We therefore had all imaginable opportunities and advantages for the attainment of happiness. If a king can't be happy, who can? And particularly for the getting of wisdom, by consulting all sorts of books and men, and by trying all manner of experiments, and no ordinary king, but king over Israel, Yahweh's own people, a wise and a happy people, whose king he was by Yahweh's special appointment. He asked for wisdom, Yahweh gave it to him. So now we know who this person is. And he was furnished by Yahweh with singular wisdom for that great trust, and whose abode was in Jerusalem, where the house of Yahweh was, the most wise and learned of the priests attending upon it, the seats of justice, colleges, or assemblies of the wisest men of their nation. All these concurring in him, which rarely do in any other man, make the argument drawn from his experience most convincing. In verse 13, and I set my mind to seek and explore by wisdom concerning all that has been done under the heaven. It is a grievous task which Elohim has given to the sons of men to be afflicted with. His ambition was to find if worldly ways could provide any answers to life. He found it to be a grievous task, for only a life centered in Yahweh will give any useful answer. Outside of Yahweh, it is all vanity. Verse 14, I have seen all the works which have been done under the sun, and behold, all is vanity and striving after wind. He says, I've seen all that goes on in this world, how men strive to be satisfied without Elohim being the center of their lives, and I have found it is like trying to catch the wind. They can pretend to be happy, but it's all vanity. Put Yahweh first, and everything will fall into place. Verse 15, what is crooked cannot be straightened. What is lacking cannot be counted. Apart from Yahweh, that which is crooked cannot be straightened. That which is scattered cannot be put back together. Yahweh says he's going to gather his scattered sheep. Anybody else can't do it. That which is torn cannot be mended. That which is lacking cannot be made full. Only Yahweh has the power to fix things completely. In verse 16, I said to myself, behold, I have magnified and increased wisdom more than all who were over Jerusalem before me, and my mind has observed the wealth of wisdom and knowledge. Here's another hint who we're talking about. Not only was Solomon granted great wisdom from Yahweh, but he had personal experience and opportunity to study from a vast amount of resources. His statement about having more wisdom than any king before him is not boasting. It is a fact. In verse 17, and I set my mind to know wisdom and to know madness and folly. I realized that this also is striving after the wind. A knowledge of folly would help anyone to discern wisdom and to exercise the chief function of practical wisdom, to be able to avoid folly. If you don't know one from the other, how are you going to tell? Just knowing wisdom, madness, or folly is no end in itself. What good is all of this understanding without Yahweh? I can have a wall full of diplomas. Without Yahweh, all it makes me is an educated fool. Verse 18, because in much wisdom there is much grief, and increase in knowledge results in increase in pain. The more we know of ourselves, the less satisfied shall we be with our own hearts. We're supposed to examine ourselves before we have on Passover night. We're asked to examine ourselves before we take of the bread and wine. The more we know of mankind, the less willing we shall be to trust them. The less we shall admire them. You know, in Proverbs 3:5 it says, trust in Yahweh with all thy heart, and lean not unto thy own understanding. Psalms 146:3 says, put not your trust in princes, nor in the Son of Man, in whom there is no help. Isaiah 12:2 says, behold, Yahweh is my salvation. I will trust and not be afraid, for Yahweh is my strength and my song. He has also become my salvation. He also has become Yahshua. Proverbs 3, verse 1, my son, forget not my law, but let thy heart keep my commandments. 4:4 says, he taught me also, and he said unto me, let thy heart retain my words, keep my commandments, and live. And then, like I read before, Ecclesiastes 12, verse 13 and 14. So let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear Elohim, keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For Yahweh shall bring every work into judgment, every secret thing, whether it is be good or whether it be evil. May Yahweh bless you with mercy, knowledge, and peace.